Let's get into the most heartbreaking bonfire we've ever had in the entire history of Temptation Island. Almudena and Dario, a couple who had been together for 11 years since they were just 14 years old, who grew up together, who haven't been with other people, and whose families are like one big family. On one hand, a very beautiful relationship with that affection and commitment to seek, repair, solve, and build a future together.
If your car breaks down, you just buy another one. In the past, if your car broke down, you would fix it. Now, no. Now you just get a new one. I think that's what sets us apart.
But on the other hand, a very worn out and unbalanced relationship where duty, commitment, guilt, and fear can end up suffocating the desire to be with that person. I warn you that today's analysis is going to be complicated, it's going to be sad, and in it we're going to talk about something that isn't usually discussed much. How difficult and hard it is to end a relationship, to be the one who makes that decision, especially when your partner hasn't done anything wrong to you, especially when it's you. You love that person, and when rationally you think you should be happy that you should be in love, but nevertheless you're not happy. I'm Claudia Nicolasa Psychologia, a psychologist and author of It's Manipulation and You Don't Know It. And on this channel, we analyze series, movies, and current topics from a psychological perspective with the goal of helping you understand yourself better, understand others better, and have better relationships and a better life. Subscribe if you find this interesting. Here's a quick summary for those who don't watch the show and don't know what happened. Almudena and Dario come to the island after 11 years together to resolve two issues. On one hand, Almudena's dependency, and on the other hand, Dario's lack of romance and displays of affection. He says he needs to feel that he could lose Almudena in order to want to marry her.
I'm going on Temptation Island to be able to feel that fear of losing a little bit.
They met when they were just 14 years old, and since then they've grown up together and have everything in common, an entire life built together. Almudena tells us that she started that relationship with low self-esteem. She felt insecure, she was lacking.
Friends, I considered myself very ugly back then. And I say, how could you fall in love with me?
I met her at a stage in her life when she was a little lonely. She didn't have any friends, and I was there.
And that led her to depend on her boyfriend, to the point that at times she suffocated him.
I have friends and my own life. You're suffocating me. If I go out with friends and go somewhere else, I get 50 messages from you. Why? What? Are you an asshole? Are you a bastard?
With controlling behaviors, distrust, and not being able to tolerate Dario having his own plans.
I'm definitely the more jealous one, without a doubt.
Just for going out to have a coffee on a Sunday, I've had to argue and it's been hell at home.
At the same time, Dario admits that he's not the boyfriend Almudena deserves. Not because of infidelity or disrespect, but because he just can't be affectionate, thoughtful, or romantic.
You've never shown me affection or done anything special for me.
Despite trying, he can't manage to feel what both of them think Dario should feel.
I've waited a long time for him to propose. How long have I been asking you for this?
I mean, we see that both of them are aware of their flaws, of their limitations. Something that we will see at the bonfire translates into the ability to be self-critical and at the same time to empathize with how the other person feels.
Being neither thoughtful nor affectionate can ruin a relationship. Constant Sunday arguments after going out on Saturday also hurt things.
Honestly, that's fundamental for having a good romantic relationship. Just as I predicted in my initial analysis, which, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out to see the power of knowing psychology and understanding the mind, because it even lets you partly predict what's going to happen. Dario, after separating from Almudena and leaving that world, the life they had built together, has little by little started connecting with those emotions that were being repressed, denied, ignored, those conflicts, those needs. And all of this has ended up manifesting as infidelity.
How many times have I begged you, darling? I told you, when you meet someone else who isn't me...
You decided to go for it, and it happened easily with Christina.
In many cases, the person who cheats doesn't cheat because they really desire the other person or because they want to be with them. Infidelity at that moment isn't an end, but a means. It has a meaning, it has a purpose, an unconscious function. And it probably tells us about something that wasn't being properly addressed. Mind you, I'm not trying to justify infidelity. We all know it's wrong and that we shouldn't get to that point. Nor am I saying that it was Almudena's fault. Not at all. In fact, this particular infidelity tells us more about an internal conflict of Dario than about a problem in the relationship.
I've been carrying around a problem that I already had before. And the thing is, I'm not happy.
A conflict he had been carrying inside for a long time and until now hadn't dared to face. We'll talk about this in more depth later. As a result of this infidelity, we've seen Almudena break down and cry. I think her suffering has come through the screen and brought a tear to more than one of us. You've broken me. Well, Almudena came in with very different feelings compared to Dario. She knew clearly that she was in love, that she wants to be with Dario, because I love you.
Find out.
Or not. Are you sure about her being in love, that she wants to marry him?
Are you in love with him? I love him.
I'm in love, but don't think that Almudena is crying only because of the infidelity and the betrayal. She cries, although maybe she doesn't know it at that moment, because of the anger and pain of spending years and years waiting for your partner to feel the same way you do. And the thing is, when someone stays with their partner even though they're not in love, even if it's something they do to avoid hurting them, paradoxically it ends up causing much more pain. You have destroyed my fucking life. But we'll also talk about this as the bonfire goes on. Dario arrives with very clear and expressive body language. He arrives with his head down, subtly shaking his head no, with his eyebrows raised, his head tilted, holding his breath, a lot of body tension, gripping his knees. He arrives filled with anxiety, nervousness, and even fear.
I'm so nervous, Sandra. I'm very nervous.
And the thing is, he is fully aware of the seriousness of his actions and the consequences they have. He is fully in touch with his guilt, his sense of responsibility, his fear, and his sadness. Unlike most of the infidelities we see on the island, Dario's infidelity was not impulsive. It wasn't about getting carried away. It wasn't an "I slipped up."
I took a step, I swear on my mother, I felt terrible, but I haven't regretted it. I felt that way from the very beginning.
It was a completely premeditated, thought-out decision, knowing exactly what making that move would mean.
I felt tempted here. On day 15, I realized I wanted to do it, but what scared me most was him seeing it.
At some point, at some bonfire, we've seen that he makes excuses or tries to minimize it a bit. No one likes to feel guilty, like the bad one, or have their self-image damaged.
Everything I did.
I knew it was going to hurt her. But what his attitude communicates most of the time is that he carries the responsibility for that infidelity and that breakup.
I know what I'm giving up by my actions.
So at this point, you might be asking yourself, Claudia, isn't it a bit cold or a bit sinister for someone to be unfaithful, deliberately, consciously, knowing what that implies? Well, as I always say, the human mind is more complicated than we think. And it's capable of carrying out all kinds of schemes and mental strategies just to avoid pain, suffering, and what it fears the most. Let me explain. All of us viewers have noticed at some point during the show that Dario isn't as in love or as invested, unlike Almudena. He loves her deeply. There's a lot of affection, a strong bond, and a lot of commitment.
To always be there for you, always.
But there's no romantic desire for a relationship, for dating, for wanting to be with her. No.
I might have to stay with you forever.
It's just that there's a feeling of love, affection, familiarity, and fear of losing her from his life.
Yes, I know you're the best woman in the world. And on top of that, I can smell you, man.
A very big fear of making a mistake, of missing her, of everything falling apart.
Maybe I'll regret this my whole life, but if I don't do it, I'll never know.
There's fear and also a lot of guilt about the consequences it could have for the people around her, for her loved ones. And also a lot of fear and guilt about the harm she might cause to the person she loves the most.
Siempre he priorizado que ella esté bien. Todo lo he hecho por verla feliz, siempre.
But no matter how much affection, fear, and guilt there is, unfortunately, being in love with someone isn't something that can be turned on with the push of a button. There's also the risk of misunderstanding or invalidation from others, real or anticipated. Imagine explaining that to your mother. Almudena is objectively a woman with great qualities. A woman that many people would love to be with. Dario knows that he has a very valuable woman by his side.
Que estoy súper orgulloso de la persona que eres.
Who loves him madly and hasn't done anything wrong to him. So it's very easy for him to invalidate how he feels.
I truly wanted to leave here with her and have everything with her.
It doesn't make sense that I'm not in love, that I don't desire someone like that romantically. Something is wrong with me, something I need to change. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to regret it. What I feel isn't legitimate. There's an internal conflict and a lot of repression and self-judgment. But on top of that, there's the possibility of invalidation or lack of understanding from those around me.
In my case, I've always considered others and tried not to hurt my mother.
And this is something I've seen in my practice several times. Patients who, after a long time of doubts and fear, decide to break up with their partner. Not for any specific or serious reason, not because their partner is bad or treats them badly, but simply because they're not happy, it's not the person they want to be with, it's not what they're looking for.
Because he felt he wasn't happy.
You don't always need a reason involving pain, suffering, or abuse to break up with someone. And of course, sometimes the family, friends, the close circle, after years of growing fond of that person and even considering them as another member of the family.
Mom, she's like another daughter, okay?
They can, without meaning any harm, invalidate the person who has finally made a decision that's hard to make.
It's a shame that you've been together for 11 years just to lose it now.
How can you break up with Pepito when he's so good to you and loves you? He hasn't done anything wrong. You're breaking our hearts. What if you regret it later? I've had cases in my practice where the family kept inviting the ex-partner to family gatherings even though they knew they were hurting the patient, the person who ended the relationship.
The same way you came in with her.
Because yes, being left hurts, but ending a relationship is also hard and painful on top of the guilt you might feel.
My sister basically grew up with her, which makes me sad.
But of course, staying with a partner you don't truly want because you're afraid of hurting them, feeling guilty, or making a bad decision. That non-decision, in the end, not making a decision is still deciding. It doesn't mean that the feelings needed to continue will appear. And the other person notices that. Something inside me knew that the Dario I've seen here in Temptations existed. Being completely in love with your partner, wanting a future with them, being fully committed, and noticing, perceiving, to a greater or lesser extent, that this person doesn't feel the same way about you, is very hard.
You turned off your light for me. I would have turned off her light too, but only if I was also turned off inside.
And faced with that pain, it's common for the mind to choose to blindfold itself. Many people don't want to see, they don't want to accept that their partner really doesn't feel or want the same thing. They don't want to accept that maybe the other person is there out of habit, convenience, self-interest, or just to avoid being alone. This is actually much more common than we want to believe. And in these cases, what the person often does is deny reality, not see what's obvious. She tries to change people. She tries person. She tries to change herself and improve, thinking that by fixing so-called flaws, everything will be solved. And often what people do is shift that conflict, that problem, onto something else entirely, so they can feel that if they fix that other thing, the relationship will work. For example, maybe my partner isn't in love with me, but I refuse to see or accept it. And then my mind convinces me that actually what's happening is that they have bad influences. So I insist on isolating my partner from those people, believing that this way everything will be fixed. All kinds of mental gymnastics kick in to avoid seeing the more painful reality. Almudena thought that by working on her dependency, maybe she would have a Dario who was more in love with her.
We're going to Temptation Island so I can end my attachment to him.
And yes, maybe those suffocating behaviors could have contributed in some way to the love fading in Dario. But falling in love is something that depends on so many factors. However, it's always more acceptable, more manageable to believe that by changing something about ourselves, we're going to be able to change what's hurting us. It gives us a false sense of control, whereas accepting that our partner simply doesn't love us in the same way, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's even more painful than thinking that we are the problem.
Did he see something in her that I lack?
I don't know, it's very sad. Even if Almudena wasn't consciously thinking, my boyfriend doesn't feel the same way I do, of course she would notice that distance, that lack of interest, that truth that doesn't come to light, that something that doesn't add up.
I'm affectionate and thoughtful with him, but he isn't with me, which is what I want from him most.
And in fact, this would probably make her insecurity, her anxiety, her need to control even worse. It's impossible to feel secure in a relationship that doesn't make you feel secure.
I feel pathetic begging you for love like this, Dario.
But as I was saying, what the mind often does is transfer the conflict, the problem, to something that is more acceptable or more controllable. And in this case, it seemed that Almudena, instead of thinking that Dario simply didn't feel the same way, chose to think that he was someone with a tendency to be unfaithful, that she couldn't trust him when he went out partying. So all her suffering, her control, and her energy were focused on that area. But that, as we know, wasn't the real problem.
I get home from work, need to go to the gym, and honestly, I don't want to neglect myself.
Both Dario and Almudena didn't want to see reality.
I've tried, but I'm not very thoughtful.
And it's normal because this is one of the hardest decisions you can make in life. Saying no to a relationship like that, saying no to the whole future you had planned.
The hardest decision I've ever made.
Dario tried to fool himself by thinking that he was just busy, that he was tired, that maybe he just wasn't a thoughtful person, that maybe he needed to feel like he could lose her.
Let's go together on Saturday and let her pick what she wants instead of buying something unnecessary.
On the island, he can't keep fooling himself. It's over. Getting out of your usual environment always allows feelings, needs, and desires to come out that we might have repressed in our usual context.
You may think you're one thing, but a new environment can make you entirely different.
That's why I suggest going to new places if you want to discover different sides of yourself.
This also helps you know yourself.
And that's where what I said before comes in, that Dario's infidelity has meaning. There's intent behind it. Most likely, Cristina doesn't really matter to Dario one way or the other. If he kicks you, his style will beat you.
Yeah, I look like a Canarian. What, you think I'm making it up, man?
Really, obviously, he feels attracted, there's chemistry, he liked her, he felt comfortable and understood by her. But on a psychological level, being so aware of what he was doing, of the implications and the consequences, I
didn't fall for it just because I was turned on.
As a psychologist, I would bet that this was done like someone moving a piece on a chessboard, knowing they're going to be checkmated because they've been seeing for a while that they've already lost the game. No matter how much they keep trying, sooner or later they're going to lose that game. So they make the move to put an end to everything.
I knew I was about to mark a turning point in my life, so I did it.
It's as if that infidelity happened just to finally blow up that relationship. Taking a step there's no going back from. It's like a self-imposed sentence. Let me explain a little more. For Dario, making the decision to break up with Almudena is very difficult. It's terrifying. It makes him feel guilty.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
It's a sea of doubts, thinking that maybe he made a mistake.
And maybe I'll regret what I'm doing for the rest of my damn life.
And ending that relationship is simply a decision that can be reversed. Dario admits he has often considered ending the relationship, but he couldn't do it. He always backed out.
Let's break up, come on, let's break up. But in the end, he never actually took the steps to end it.
Infidelity is something you can't take back. You can't erase it, you can't undo it. It's a turning point. It changes everything. And what's more, in a way, and this goes back to self-deception, somehow you free yourself mentally from something that's really hard, making the decision to end that relationship. Yes, by being unfaithful, you're deciding to ruin the relationship, but you're not ending it from the same position. One thing is that scenario where your partner loves you, is good to you, doesn't do anything wrong to you, and you have that responsibility and that burden of ending the relationship. And another thing is for that mind that runs away from its discomfort and guilt to hurt your partner, to do something really bad that can't be fixed, and so the relationship ends. You didn't end the relationship, you did something that broke it. Yes, in the second case, in the case of infidelity, you carry guilt, you look like the bad one, you suffer, you make others suffer. But at least your mind has avoided something that was especially terrifying for you. What? Breaking something that is good and valuable, rationally speaking? I'm not sure if this makes sense. It might be complex, but given how hard it is to break up with someone who loves you, when you've been together your whole lives, they've done nothing wrong to you, and your families love each other.
In my family, she's like a daughter.
For a mind terrified of making a bad decision, it can be less painful to be the bad one than to carry that tough decision forever. With this, I don't mean to justify Dario, not at all. What he should have done was face those feelings much earlier, without hurting Almudena like this. What he should have done is go to therapy to understand his emotions, to face them, and to stop avoiding what was going on inside him.
I need to find myself and know what I want in life.
And all this suffering, chaos, and pain that we've seen during Dario and Almudena's time on the island comes exactly from this, which is so human and so dangerous. From ignoring, repressing, judging, avoiding emotions. From not wanting to face reality, from not being consistent, from not taking a step forward, from following internal rules, from wanting to please others, from invalidating ourselves.
I always tried to do what was right, which meant doing what others wanted.
From obeying what is moral or correct, what is expected of oneself.
I've always considered her, not myself, when making decisions.
For forcing ourselves to follow the life script we've imagined.
We've always chosen the easy path together, making decisions and moving forward as a team.
Dario has spent a long time running away from his emotions, and not only has he dragged himself into dissatisfaction and suffering, but he has also dragged Almudena along with him, someone who doesn't deserve that at all.
That he's with me just to be with me, out of habit. I can't blame you for anything, but damn, coming here for that.
And well, he had to go on a reality show to face it. I don't recommend you take the same path, but at least now Almudena has the information, she knows the truth. And even though the truth hurts, it also brings peace and empowers you. I feel strong. I believe no one dies of love. When you don't tell someone the truth to avoid hurting them, you condemn them to confusion, doubt, discomfort, and insecurity. Because even if the person doesn't tell you things, without the truth, without the information, their mind goes crazy trying to come up with an explanation for your behavior. I just make up my own story.
They imagine things that haven't happened.
Now she finally has permission and can begin the grieving process. To accept reality, to step back, to find her place, and to make the necessary decisions so she can be okay.
He gave me affection, something you never did. He gave me affection. He paid attention to me.
Facing negative emotions sets us free. And communicating our emotional reality and taking a step forward frees the person next to us.
I thought I was dying of love, but I'm not dying, Dario.
As I always say, avoiding emotions makes us their slaves and takes away our mental freedom. Although this has been a tough time on the island for everyone, I think Dario and Almudena taught us a valuable lesson by admitting their mistakes and empathizing with each other.
He doesn't deserve it?
He doesn't deserve that, I don't.
I'm sorry for maybe not giving you everything you need.
Despite the pain, they still look each other in the eyes and thank each other for all they've shared and the love they've received.
I wish I could be there to see all the good things that happened to him.
They are able to understand each other, to forgive each other, to wish each other the best.
Don't assign blame, I promise. I have been very happy.
And above all, I think Almudena stands out in this sense because due to the situation, she was in a much more vulnerable and fragile position. She has been able to end it with an "I understand you, I haven't held it against you, thank you so much for all these years."
For having...
In the world. I don't know about you, but this really moved me, and that's true love. But of course, love alone isn't enough for a relationship to work and make sense.
Are you in love with Almudena?
I'm in love with you. Honestly, to me, you are.
Goodbye. And I'm saying this because I know that many people can relate to Dario's situation, even if they don't want to say it out loud. Deep down in their hearts, they know they're not in love with their partner, that they're not there 100%, that they don't feel the same way as the person next to them. Here, I'm speaking to those people who might judge themselves or feel guilty for not feeling what they think they should feel. They even begin to wonder if they can't appreciate others, if they're selfish, or if they're incapable of loving. But love isn't rational. No matter how many qualities your partner has that you're looking for, no matter how much they love you, no matter how well they treat you, falling in love isn't a button you can press. It's not something rational. That doesn't make you selfish or mean you're making a mistake. Obviously, from a relationship psychology perspective, there are different things you can do to reactivate and repair the relationship, but when you've been together for a long time and deep down you know you really don't want to be there, that's when we're talking about an act of honesty. And the thing is, there are so many wonderful people in the world, but that doesn't mean you have to be in love with all of them.
She is the perfect woman, I swear to you.
But Dario, love isn't found in perfection.
There are a lot of attractive people in the world, but that doesn't mean you have to like all of them. It's not logical. It's not something that depends on you. But what does depend on you is being honest with yourself and with the person by your side. Since you can't give them the love they expect and deserve, at least let them have the chance to look for it somewhere else, or at least not have to beg for it.
I deserve to be loved properly. Love shouldn't be begged for.
Anyway, this situation is very tough and it's very unfair for both of them. I've really liked this couple on Temptation Island because they've shown us a reality that I think hasn't been seen on the island until now. A reality that many people go through, that many people face.
If I don't do it, I might never realize it and could spend another 11 years unhappy. Life passes by and disappears.
And as always, seeing that human reality projected on a screen, calmly, from the comfort of your home, it's very easy to judge, criticize, and point fingers at people. Fortunately, on this channel, we're not here to judge whether people do things right or wrong, because I think that doesn't add anything. We're here to put ourselves in those people's shoes, to empathize, to understand how they feel, and in that way to take away lessons to improve our own lives, our decisions, our relationships, and also to have more information. In an uncertain future, since we never know what we'll face, comment respectfully and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!